A visit to Iran is like a journey back in time to the beginnings of our own civilization, when the Persian Empire dominated the known world. The country we now call the Islamic Republic of Iran has been through some troubled times, but nowadays it's able to project a more peaceful and varied image. Whether it's through the delicate blue mosaics of Isfahan, the grandeur of Persepolis, or the riches of Shiraz. Hospitality is taken seriously here, and from the Zagros Mountains to the cities of the desert, the people of Iran give us a warm welcome along with a magnificent insight into their unique culture. The capital, Tehran, has grown in recent years to a mega city of 8 million inhabitants. Unlike the other urban centers in Iran, it's a fairly modern city and relatively untouched by history. The Azadi Tower is one of the symbols of the city. Built in 1971, it stands 45 meters high and is covered with 25,000 slabs of white Isfahan marble. A mixture of Persian, Azeri, Gilaki, and Kurdish, Iran's population is the result of almost 5,000 years of history, going back to the early civilizations of Mesopotamia. At the heart of Tehran is the Golestan Palace. One of the oldest monuments in the capital, it was built under the Safavid dynasty in the historic walled city. After later additions were made in the 19th century, it became a royal residence and the seat of the ruling Qajar family. The palace was the epitome of a new style which combined traditional Persian arts and crafts with elements of 18th century European architecture and technology. The Tala-is-Salam, which served as the throne room and main reception room, is decorated with finely wrought sculptures and moldings using gold, silver, and precious stones. Gardens play an important role in the aesthetics of Persian palaces. The Emarat-e-Bajir, or Building of the Wind Catchers, is one of the oldest buildings in the palace complex. Built in the reign of Shah Fatali, it underwent later modifications. Its ingenious ventilation system meant that it was used above all in the summer months. Nearby, in the modern center of Tehran, the bazaar is constantly busy. The bazaar is a major business center in Iran, and an estimated 8% of the country's economic activity is carried out there. Much more than just a place to go shopping, it's a kind of vast informal stock exchange where the prices of all main goods are determined. The city has grown fast, leaving its infrastructure behind, and so its traffic jams continue to get bigger and bigger. We're off to the north of the city. The Sad Abad Cultural Center is a showcase for several royal summer residences, which were inhabited during the reign of the Pahlavi family. During the Iranian Revolution, any buildings occupied by the dynasties which ruled the country in the past were considered taboo. Because Tehran is a relatively recent city, these buildings, such as the Green Palace, are some of the few historic monuments in existence here. They've recently been restored and are visited by large sections of the population curious to see the opulence of the palaces. The Melat Palace was built in 1937 by Reza Shah and used mainly by his son Shah Mohammad Reza and Queen Farah. It served as a summer residence and receptions were held in its 10 different staterooms. Nearer the city center, the Niavaran Palace is where the last Shah lived for over 10 years of his reign. Built in a very 1960s style, it's a functional building, but decorated with magnificent carpets and European-style furniture, which give it a decidedly Napoleonic atmosphere. In the more modern parts of the city, the emergence of European-style cafes reflects the gradual opening up of the country. Sitting at an average altitude of 1,200 meters, Tehran is surrounded by mountains which afford dramatic views in the winter months. One of the favorite destinations for the capital's inhabitants is Mount Toshal, reached by a gondola lift from the city below. The journey to the top is in 2 stages. By the halfway point, the weather has already changed considerably, with cold and snowy conditions. From here, hikers can set off for long walks if the weather permits. Towering over the city at 3,964 meters above sea level, the summit of Mount Toshal hosts a small ski resort. A number of chairlifts enable local people to enjoy the slopes and the snow, and the atmosphere is just as relaxed as in any other ski resort around the world. Behind Toshal to the north lie the magnificent peaks and valleys of the Alborz mountain range. In the distance we can see Mount Damavand, one of the symbols of Iran, with its almost perfectly conical summit reaching 5,671 meters above sea level. Dizin is the oldest and best known of Iran's ski resorts. At an altitude of 2,650 meters, it boasts excellent snow conditions and many gondola and chair lifts. People come to the resort on day trips from Tehran, and the slopes are usually very busy at weekends. In the neighboring valley, the Darbansar and Shemshak resorts are on Mount Sichi, whose steep slopes attract many skiers. Here too we find the relaxed atmosphere of a small ski resort, far from the bustle of the capital, which nevertheless is only 2 hours away by car. Heading northwards, the city of Caspian was the capital of the Persian Empire in the 16th century. Today it's known for its expert calligraphers and also as an important place of pilgrimage for the Shiite Muslims, the tomb of the son of an imam, Imamzadeh Hussein. The mausoleum was built in the 14th century, rebuilt under the Safavid dynasty and completed by the Qajar family in the 19th century, who added a great entrance gate decorated with ceramic tiles. Religious dignitaries and very religious people are allowed, as today for a funeral, to approach the tomb itself. The cenotaph sits under a domed ceiling at the center of a room decorated with a mosaic of mirror glass. Continuing north, we arrive on the shores of the Caspian Sea, a generally humid region where the sun is often hidden. Fishing is regulated by the authorities, and right now, in May, it's over for another few weeks. The summer season has not yet begun. and there's plenty of activity around the port of Anzali, the biggest on this northern coast. A few fishermen are still putting out their nets. In its heyday, Anzali was an important center for caviar production. Visitors still like to tour the port by motorboat. At the end of the day, in the nearby village of Fuman, the streets are busy. The local speciality is the koluche, a kind of biscuit made from sugar and walnuts. First, the pastry is well mixed. Then the biscuit is made by adding the walnut paste. A decorative design is added before popping it in the oven for a few minutes. The region of Gilan is Iran's breadbasket and also its orchard. Thanks to the humid climate, rice is one of the main crops. Not far away, the rice fields give way to tea plantations. The harvest began at the end of April. There's plenty of work to do in spite of the rain to harvest the tea leaves, which give a robust flavor, not unlike that found in Turkey. Ali Farza works for the landowner and is getting the sacks ready to be sent to the processing plant.
We usually start the harvest at the end of April, and it normally takes about 3 weeks. Then we stop for about a month, and then there's a second harvest.
Chaicho is one of the many tea processing plants in the area. The day's harvest is taken to the upper floor to dry. Everyone in Iran drinks lots of tea, and this region's harvest is barely enough to meet local demand. In the rest of the country, tea is imported from India or Sri Lanka. Habib Askari, the manager, doesn't have to look for new customers. He always sells as much as he can produce.
Drink tea for starting the day, and it's cornier. So in the north of Iran, we try to produce tea for the people that live here.
Leaving the plains and heading up to the Alborz mountain range, we visit villages typical of the Gilani region, such as Mazule. At 1,000 meters above sea level, Mazule's architecture is unique. The houses are built on the slopes of the mountain and are all interconnected. Roofs and courtyards are used by pedestrians just like streets, because the roof of the house below serves as the courtyard of the house above. People here talk Gilaki, which has close links with Caucasian languages. At the center of the village, men gather to drink tea and eat fresh bread before beginning their day's work in the fields. At the last census, there were 180 families living here, making a total of 550 inhabitants. Little has changed in the village since its origins, which go back to the 10th century. The blacksmith is especially busy as he takes care of all the tools used in the surrounding fields. Our journey takes us now to the city of Isfahan in central Iran. This bridge, which is also a weir, has for the past 3 centuries regulated the flow of the river and the rhythm of life in this city. Spanning 132 meters and with 24 arches, the Khajju is the most famous bridge in Iran. In central Iran, Isfahan was the Shah's capital between the 16th and 18th centuries. It's an unmissable destination and almost a rite of passage for anyone making a trip to Iran. Praised by generations of poets as the jewel of Muslim Persia, its reputation is still richly deserved. Previously known as the Shah's Square and nowadays called Imam Khomeini's Square, it's one of the biggest city squares in the world and surely one of the most beautiful. The traditional way to make a tour of the square, which in the past was host to polo matches, is in a horse-drawn carriage. Each side of the square boasts magnificent architecture, such as the Ali Kapur Palace, the Shah's Mosque, and the Sheikh Loftala Mosque. It was completed in 1619 after 16 years of work. Unusually, it has no minarets or internal courtyard. It was reserved for the royal family's private use. Isfahan owes its architectural splendors to Shah Abbas I, the great Safavid king who brought the best architects, craftsmen, sculptors, and ceramicists to his court, some of whom came from Europe, from China, and from India. The dome is absolutely remarkable in the sophistication of its decoration and the pastel tints which vary according to the time of day and the height of the sun in the sky. The mihrab is probably one of the most beautiful in Iran, surrounded by calligraphy representing the names of the 12 Shiite imams and the mosque's 2 architects. At Isfahan, even the gateway to the bazaar is decorated with magnificent frescoes. Sheltered from the heat in vaulted alleyways, the bazaar is said to be the best in Iran. Hundreds of shops compete to sell spices, jewelry, and carpets. Each alleyway has its specialities and its particular atmosphere. In one of the quieter corners, away from the crowds, we find the gold and silver merchants who sell finely worked jewelry, an essential item for any marriage. Next to the bazaar, the Azadegan tea house is one of the most unusual places in Isfahan. Generations of the Azadegan family have collected various objects, so that it's become a kind of museum in which people come to smoke the hookah. This way of smoking flavored tobacco through a water pipe is a Persian invention. The Persepolis is another of the remarkable bridges in Isfahan. 2 stories high with 33 arches, it originally joined the Iranian city to its Armenian suburb. After crossing the river, we are taken to meet one of the best-known carpet designers in Isfahan. As a young man, Akbar Madei studied with the master carpet makers of the city and developed his own style, including bold and realistic flower designs which he paints by hand to serve as a blueprint for the weavers. A year's work and around 80 detailed drawings will be necessary before the weaving can begin. In one of their many workshops, Amir, one of Akbar's sons, is overseeing work on a carpet measuring 25 square meters.
For example, this size of this carpet maybe woven, for example, tab is about 1 year, but here we have 3 or 4 years. All the day, about 10 persons should be work here to finish it, about 4 years, and this is so hard. So we should have a big emotion, and I want to say only love is a Isfahan carpet.
All the colors are obtained from natural dyes. With Akbar's design for reference, the work is carried out with amazing precision. Progress is regularly checked by the workshop supervisor. All the hard work is reflected in the final result. Here in this private exhibition space, the family receives clients interested in these works of art who can afford the price tag of almost 200,000 euros. We are back on the Naksh-e-Jahan Square, where the Haram-e-Abbasi Mosque is one of the masterpieces of Persian architecture. The entrance gate sets the tone with 7 shades of blue to be found in the mosaics and the calligraphy. Above the marble arch, each space, each niche has a unique and highly complex decorative design. The Shah Abbas I ordered work to begin in 1611, but it wasn't until nearly the end of his reign in 1629 that he was able to admire the spectacular, finished project. The rich decoration of the 36-meter-high dome is truly exceptional. Today, the mosque is used above all for Friday prayers. That's why the main square is full of awnings to protect the faithful from the sun. Shah Abbas I also built the Ali Kapur Palace, an impressive 6th-floor building which commands exceptional views over the vast square below. As a music lover, the Shah had a music room built on the top floor, where the acoustics were highly sophisticated for the era. The Shehel Sotun Palace was built in the reign of Abbas II as a place for entertainment and for receiving guests. The staterooms are covered in frescoes depicting the exploits of Persian sovereigns, such as the victory of Nadir Shah over the Mughal Empire. Back in the city center, there is nothing to indicate the presence of a zurkhaneh, or house of strength. It's a kind of gymnasium reserved for men in which they practice wrestling and bodybuilding. This discipline, inherited from the Persian tradition, is currently undergoing a revival. All of the equipment used is based on a particular weapon or warfare technique. The clubs can weigh between 5 and 45 kilos.
It's something which began almost 5,000 years ago, not as a sport, but more like a training discipline. And about 3,000 years ago, with the increase in the number of conflicts, they also began to train outside with horses.
نیمه کلام الله مزید دخیل دخیل.
When all the athletes are ready, the morshed, or guide, sings to accompany the warm-up and bodybuilding exercises. Abel Fazi is one of the most talented members of this zurkhaneh. In contrast, this is the newly opened Museum of Music, the result of painstaking work by a group of enthusiasts. They've succeeded in bringing together more than 300 traditional Persian musical instruments, both from state collections and from regional traditions. Mirhad is himself a skilled musician.
It's the first private music museum in Iran. We have started almost 5 months ago, but the starting of collecting all things belongs to more than 30 years ago. And you know, it's by love. We have collected all by love and what we like about our culture, our music, and our instruments.
Mirhad often gathers together musicians who are considered to be experts in their particular field. Yazd is a virtuoso on the tonbak, or goblet drum. To the east of Isfahan lies one of Iran's main mountain ranges, the Zagros. Here we're in Bakhtiari territory, home to the largest remaining nomadic population in Iran. In the village of Shelgard, at an altitude of 2,300 meters, the first families have just come back home from their winter pastures in Khuzestan. The baker has to increase his output. The men wear a black felt hat and a natural wool coat patterned with black. The Fariborz family is preparing an obtoshi, a speciality made with dried fruits.
To make abtorshi, first you cook the onions, then you add the almonds, cashew nuts, raisins, dried apricots, and some spices.
After the harsh winter, the families start living mostly outside as soon as the temperatures permit. The Bakhtiari live in immense mountain valleys, and this family have settled beneath a glacier with their flock of almost 150 sheep and goats. In winter, the landscape is covered in a thick blanket of snow, which now, in May, has only just melted. This is the source of the Kuran, one of the largest rivers in the region. Above, many of the peaks exceed 4,000 meters, and the last major snowslides have yet to melt. Further down the valley, near the town of Chelgard, this family is eager to complete the final leg of a journey of several hundred kilometers. They'll soon be at their summer pastures. All their belongings are carried by their horses and mules. They will set up home not far from the Davoudi family, some of whom have given up the nomad's life and settled in the city of Char-e-Cord further down the valley. They follow the ancient traditional way of life, but their numbers are falling year by year, either due to pressure from the government, which has always sought to control them, or because standards of living are generally rising across Iran. More and more of their children are going to school, and life without electricity and running water is not easy. But the seasonal migration of their flocks remains the foundation and driving force of these very hierarchical tribal societies. These wheat pancakes are eaten with tea in the morning and form the basis of all of the day's meals. Each morning, the carpets on which the families sleep are rolled up to make room for visitors.
We live in traditional tents, not in villages, but these tents. We can do the migration in 1 week now. It used to take at least a fortnight.
The grandparents are particularly attached to this open-air way of life and the sense of freedom that goes with it. In the valleys of the Zald Kuch mountains, which peak at 4,500 meters, there is plenty for the flocks to eat, and above all, plenty of water to drink. thanks to the snowmelt, which inspired engineers to construct hydroelectric dams like this one, built 60 years ago. Our journey now takes us south into a desert landscape. The city of Mebod was founded more than 1,800 years ago, and its ancient center, built from mud bricks, is still intact despite the desert winds. Nanarine Castle is the oldest example of this kind of construction and dates from before the arrival of Islam in Iran. From the summit of the Galeen hill, it dominates the whole city. Historians are divided as to its origins. Whilst they agree that it served under the Achaemenid and Sassanid empires, some say that it may also have been the site of one of the first Zoroastrian fire temples. All around are the remains of mud brick houses, which are slowly being abandoned by the inhabitants, who are moving to more modern buildings. "70 kilometers beyond Mebod, between the deserts of Dasht-e-Kavir to the north and Dasht-e-Lut to the south, is the amazing city of Yazd. Considered by UNESCO to be one of the most ancient cities in the world, after Ur in Mesopotamia, it was known 3,000 years BC under the name of Yasatis. With minarets nearly 50 meters high, the Jame Mosque has one of the most imposing entrance gates in Iran. It was added in the 15th century to an older 12th century mosque, which was in turn built on the remains of an ancient fire temple. It's one of the most beautiful examples of the Azari style. The mosaics are finely worked, and the floral motifs are representations of paradise. The dome and the mihrab also take up the floral themes in their mosaics, intersected by whole sections of calligraphy. Known as the Great Mosque of Yazd, it is still in use today. In the old town around Fakhrodan Square, everything is built from adobe or mud bricks. Adorning the roofs are dozens of bajirs, ventilation chimneys which ingeniously channel cool air into the houses below. Such as the Lariha house, built in the 13th century by rich merchants. In the more modern part of the city, merchants are still engaged in the activities which made Yazd one of the busiest cities on the Silk Road in the time of Marco Polo. Hajj Khalifa Ali Rakhbar is the most popular place in town to buy baklava. We head to the kitchen to discover what exactly goes into these traditional delicacies, much sweeter here than in the Middle East.
In baklava, there are, of course, pistachios, rose water, oil, sugar, cardamom, and of course, almonds.
Yazd is an important center for followers of Zoroastrianism, one of the oldest religions in the world. Its origins date from several centuries before the Christian era, and it was the official religion of Persia for 4 centuries before the Arab conquest. In the fire temple, the faithful are purified by the flames, which have been kept burning here since time immemorial. Another important place for Zoroastrians is the Tower of Silence. At Yazd, it's built outside the city. Corpses were considered by the Persians to be impure and so could not be disposed of in the earth, in water, or by fire without polluting those elements. Only the corpse of a king was considered divine and could therefore be given a grave. The bodies of the other dead were left exposed in large open towers called Towers of Silence, where they would be picked clean by scavenger birds. When only the skeletons were left, the bones would be gathered together in a central ossuary. Despite the desert location of Yazd, it has an ingenious irrigation system which feeds superb gardens such as this one, the Dawlatabad Garden. On the road to Shiraz in the west, travelers often stop off at certain sites, such as here at Arbakur, to see this cypress, said to be almost 4,500 years old, which is venerated by the Zoroastrians. Or they stop here at Pasargadae, to visit the tomb of Cyrus II, who founded the Achaemenid Empire in 559 BC. Naqsh-e-Rostam is another impressive site containing 4 royal Achaemenid tombs built into the rock face in the shape of a cross and decorated with immense sculptures in bas-relief. One of them has an inscription which identifies it as the tomb of Darius I. The 3 other tombs are believed to be those of Xerxes I, Artaxerxes I, and Darius II. Darius was laid to rest not far from his greatest achievement, Persepolis, originally called Parsa. The construction project, begun in 515 BC by its founder Darius I, was an astonishing feat. Covering 13 hectares, it contained a series of palaces and staterooms, constructed from marble and precious woods, whose walls were covered in tapestries woven with golden thread and precious stones. For over 200 years, a succession of monarchs reigned over an empire which stretched from the Tigris to the Nile and even, at its height, from the banks of the Indus to Ethiopia. Darius accumulated so many treasures that when Alexander the Great conquered the city in 330 BC, it took 10,000 mules and 500 camels to carry it all away, after which Persepolis was destroyed by fire. Briefly the capital of the Zand dynasty in the 18th century, Shiraz is another oasis of vegetation and culture in southern Iran. It owes its reputation as Persia's literary center to the poets who lived here in the 14th century, such as Hafez. He remains the best-loved poet in Iran, and people come to his marble tomb to recite verses from the Divan, his collected works. In the center of the city, the Nazir el-Mulk Mosque looks from the outside like a traditional religious building. But inside is a highly colorful surprise. A prayer room lit entirely by stained glass, through which the early morning sun sprays the vaults and the decoration with a rainbow of color. This Shiite mosque was built at the end of the 19th century and is known as the Pink Mosque because of the dominant color of its interior decoration. If you look closely at the pillars, you will see wooden supports which are aimed at mitigating the effect of an earth tremor in this important earthquake zone. The floral themes often make reference to the work of European artists, and there are even pictures of churches. In Persian philosophy, the garden represents paradise on earth, and one of the most famous in Iran is the Iram Garden. Its pools of clear water and banks of roses and sweet briar lead to a 20th century Qajar palace with a luxurious facade decorated with calligraphy and paintings of wild animals. But the city of Shiraz is not merely nostalgic for the past. The old merchants' houses have been replaced by some splendid examples of contemporary architecture. In the city center, this citadel was built by the founder of the Yazd dynasty, Karim Khan. The monarch wished to compete with the splendors of Isfahan. And in 1766, he commissioned the best architects in his kingdom to carry out the work, which was completed in just a few years. It was one of the Yazd dynasty's royal palaces until the first Pahlavi ruler, Reza Shah, turned it into a prison. At the center of the castle, Ghulam Ali continues the tradition of marquetry, which was highly popular during that period. He has gained a doctorate in this ancient craft, which demands a great deal of patience and skill. While in the past these pieces were used to serve food and drink to guests, nowadays they are highly desirable works of art. The hammam is the most private of all palace apartments and is often one of the most beautiful. In the old city, the coffered ceiling tells us we're in the bazaar. The rulers of the Yazd dynasty wanted to make Shiraz into an important trade center. But when the Qajars took over and moved the capital city to Tehran, Shiraz lost a great deal of influence. But business is still flourishing in the quiet corners of the bazaar, where craftsmen in their tiny workshops continue to make gold and silver jewelry. The Shah Chiragh is one of the most holy sites for Iran's Shiite Muslims. Both a mausoleum and an immense mosque, it's the tomb of Amir Ahmed, brother of the Imam Reza, who was killed in one of the religious wars of the Abbasid Caliphate. A place of pilgrimage since the 14th century, the site has been enlarged and repaired several times due to numerous earth tremors over the years. While temperatures in Shiraz reach 37 degrees, the last snow is melting on the Roanj Mountains at 3,700 meters. A few hours by car from the southern capital, we're in Qashqai territory, home to another of the largest nomad tribes in Iran. Bahman has come to spend time with his family, who have just arrived to spend several months in their summer pastures.
My tribe, the name is Qashqai.
My people are the Qashqai. My family lives 6 months of the year in the winter pastures and 6 months in their summer pastures.
700 kilometers moving.
Each time it's a journey of 700 kilometers, which they do on foot.
Which is Turkish.
We speak Turkey and we live here at the foot of this mountain, the Roanj.
25 families.
Around 25 families live in this region, and my family have about 200 sheep and goats. For nomads, horses and guns are very important possessions.
Iran is very important.
As the weather gets hotter, the shepherds will take the flocks higher and higher into the mountains in search of vegetation. Bahman's father is keen to tell the visitors about their long and exhausting journey, which took them at a steady pace through the mountain passes and valleys. To celebrate their arrival, he asks his son to choose a goat to provide us with lunch. The careful ritual killing takes place by the stream, while Bahman's mother prepares the vegetables. They speak a Turkic language between themselves, and they have a particular style of singing that's unlike any other music from southern Iran. At milking time, it's a major operation to round up all the animals. Only then will the whole clan sit down together and rest. And so our journey ends in the south of Iran, a country with many other riches to discover.